It'd be funny to actually start it as though we've been talking for 10 seconds. We beat it.
Yeah, we just did that then. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tom's prediction of what would be good if it happened actually did happen. We started the pod 10 seconds before Robbie did, and then he jumped the gun on us. I don't know who started it first, but we're up live now, so who cares, as this is the edition where I am going to celebrate my birthday early, much like 5-year-olds do when they say to you that they are not going to whine to you ever again if you buy them a Batman toy. This is my version of that.
So Jordan has demanded this week to choose every segment that we're doing, and we have to do
my birthday.
Yeah, whatever Jordan wants, Jordan gets this week. So
I think my birthday's 6 months away. And Tom's, which is just realised this last night as I was going to bed, was 2 weeks before that. I forgot his birthday. He didn't get a present from me at all.
So for my birthday, Jordan gets whatever he wants. And when I was telling Robbie about the different segments we're doing, the look on his face and my face was very similar, in a kind of neither of us are very excited for these ideas. But they're just what Jordan would love.
Dad and Dad for gritting and bearing it. Because today we're doing the mental version of going to putt-putt games and then going to McDonald's and then watching some movie about a talking octopus for dinner.
So this is the list. Jordan's wish list is we're going to be talking about the election, which you can imagine Jordan would love. Jordan's going to give us a history lesson on Rome, which he's an avid enthusiast.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be like sitting in school, except for I'm your teacher and I've got no qualifications. So strap yourselves in. You're going to learn things, sort of.
Jordan's demanded that I advertise myself as a wizard.
Because you are. And even though you are a wizard and you can muster all the money you want, I suppose, with your magical powers, you're still going to be charging $200 an hour. I think I demanded that you put up for an arbitrary reason that for your services you're charging what is actually quite a minor amount. A lot of barristers and doctors charge far more than $200 an hour. But you can impact their life much more than that, as in you could make everybody in the courtroom forget that you committed a murder and then you get off scot-free, and it's cheaper. So it's all pluses with Tom's wizard and mages warlockery.
Yeah, which I will be trying to spruik off to you guys, and
hopefully we'll get some customers out of that. Always looking for new sources of revenue. I think magic's the way to go.
Then we'll be doing Goosebumps, which, again, like Jordan loves.
Who doesn't, though? I mean, it is my birthday, but you've got to go to somewhere that's people like as a birthday party. I mean, if you like ponies and nobody else does, I suppose because usually the people that do like ponies are very bratty little girls, you would be going to there. So, it's just you're lucky that we're all on board on one thing.
But yeah, we all love that, so that's not really too hard to deal with. But then, and then we're going to be... Oh, there's 2 more presents actually for Jordan. The other one is Jordan's he's had some pretty tough experiences lately, and we're going to spiritually guide him through that. Robbie will be...
Ooh, that was a tough present to open, wasn't it? But sometimes presents are necessary, like the socks that you don't really need. So on closer reflection, no presents are necessary.
And for Robbie's audition this week, last week he did a terrible job in finding himself a script from Home and Away where he had a single line to read from. 2 lines. So, he's lost that privilege.
But they were such small lines. You could bundle them in and it still would be a sentence. Yeah. So many academics would look at that and say, there's no need for a full stop there.
It could have been 1 line. Yeah, so Jordan has written a script for Robbie to read out because Robbie's lost the privilege to find his own scripts, and
it's still under the pretext that it is an Australian television show, and of course this one is
but it's
something
one that Jordan
that will
has
be
invented
the biography of my life, which, as one of our avid subscribers who, as always, I can't remember their name and didn't bother to look up, they sent it a picture of John Howard, and I think we all saw it, but my God, if that isn't my dad, I will say that all DNA testing is a complete sham and become one of those people that denies that AIDS even exists, because that guy clearly is my father. And I think that this is something that should be a Channel 9 television series, because it's an amazing story of discovery and trial, and we have made ourselves a first draft script of that, which Robbie will be reading out. And therefore, everything is still under the Australian context, because when it comes to Jordan and some guy that's really bad of cricket, nothing's more Aussie than that, is there?
When I saw that photo, I was like...
Channel 7.
I was shocked. I thought that because I didn't know you were doing like a comparison. Like I thought the young photo of you was John Howard. Like the photo of you.
It happens, doesn't it? Uncanny.
Because then I was like, oh wow, the photo on the right does look a lot like the photo on the left. And I was like, oh, has he just uploaded 2 photos of John Howard? And I was like, that is Jordan. But yeah, amazing. Anyway,
it is incredible, isn't it? Especially when everybody starts posting down pictures of John Howard, modern day, and then you see that he was and I'm not bringing myself into the mix because everybody else put that comparison up to themselves. But John Howard is a remarkably, resoundingly, can't think of anybody else more handsome on the planet man when he was young. Which scares the crap out of me that I could be mistaken as a Year 9 science experiment when I'm 70 as do potatoes grow in the dark kind of.
Yeah. Do you look exactly like John Howard at the age of 70?
Yeah. Only time will tell, I suppose, in that situation. But we can pretty much say that, that's going to happen. So, Tom,
wait and see.
As you are an atheist, I know this is hard for you, but pray for me.
All right, what did you think of the election, Jordan?
Oh, what a farce that was, ladies and gentlemen. It's the first... we've obviously covered a lot of it in the 3 hours that we discussed with what will be the Chinese Laurie Oakes of our generation, Cameron, who is the writer for Friendlyjordies. No, sorry, I'm the
Researcher.
writer. Sorry.
Behind the scenes, he does everything. Yeah, Cameron is the real Jordan. Just some figurehead face.
Yes. Much like Piccolo got separated from that guy that looks over the earth. That's what happened for the election, because it was a special day. But normally, we do, to conserve energy, stay in as the same human
bring
being.
him in. Yeah, we only use you because you look like John Howard. Cameron's the real face of it all. The real mind behind it.
We always said that this podcast was going to be about exposing the underlies of the Friendlyjordies movement, I suppose it is.
The secret is Cameron does it all.
Yeah, we've pretty much laid back all the layers. We're still going to continue the podcast, but there's nothing else. Those are all the secrets we have, and they're pretty massive.
Yeah, well, Cameron was great. He was, he was the only...
Yeah, except for he voted Liberal. Scum.
But just happened to know, like, pretty much everything. I guess it wasn't a surprise.
You've got to commend him for that. So maybe he was right on the votes. But every time he came up with a point of view, I've got to say, and it's probably going to be a little contentious saying this, seeing as he isn't here, but we obliterated all of his points from the Liberal Party, and there's nothing that he can do about it because he's not here.
Yeah, deal with that.
You didn't feel it though, did you? Every single point that he came up with for why he would vote for the Liberal Party, there was he was basically regurgitating mainstream media points, which made it more scary when I started reading the headlines the day after Mike Baird was elected. You know what the Telegraph was posting? Because every single poll before the election stated that everyone was against privatisation. And by everyone, I mean 70%. So... just overwhelming majority, and everyone's too much of an overstatement.
Yeah.
But if those 3 people jumped off a cliff tomorrow, I wouldn't be sad about it. So everyone that matters, was against privatisation of the electricity grid. And as Luke Foley pointed out, it is incredible how noble, honourable, and not worth remembering the opposition leader of New South Wales is, as only 19% of people did know who Luke Foley was. So more people voted for a party than they actually knew who the head of that party was.
Which is good.
It's a good thing.
Much better, isn't it?
Yes, but at the same time, that is a massive reason why he lost the election, is because nobody knew his name. And then they saw this very handsome Furby on television all the time, i.e. our current Premier, Mike Baird, who had a recognition of 53%. Scandal. Yeah. Learn your damn names before you go into the booth. Don't you think that it'd be a lot better if, just like the Simpsons episode where they come to Australia and there's some meth addict with a giant boot on his foot, shouldn't we make that...
He's not a meth addict.
You don't know what he does at his private time.
Yeah,
He's a really
yeah.
quick mentioned character
Yeah.
in The Simpsons. You only saw it for a brief second. When I looked at that face, I thought, yeah, that guy likes to smoke a lot of ice. That would give them enough money to stimulate the dark economy of New South Wales if we employed ice addicts to be moved around all of the state's primary schools and churches. So whenever somebody votes in, they have to be asked the question, who's the leader of the opposition and who's the current premier? And if they can't answer both of those questions, meth addict stumbles through the door and kicks them in the bum. Don't you think that that'd be a much more democratic system than the one that we have now?
But weren't we just... Yeah, but... it's not necessarily good. Yeah, maybe, but if the questionnaire was more around their ideas over who the leader of the party was. Because, like, why does that matter?
It's really... If you can't answer that, what chance does that person have of knowing what the policies of those people are? Maybe to sell you more on this idea of boot
what if
kicking.
you're like a big Labour person or a big Liberal person and you know about... all the actual like policies that the party are doing, but you just don't really care about who the figurehead head is.
How many people do you honestly think are in that situation?
Well,
Tom?
not many.
You're just
but if
throwing
that
out
was
hypotheticals for no reason, aren't you?
Well, if you're
what about if
hypothetical
there was a
method-
giant mongoose that had a medieval helmet on and could talk to I don't know, birds?
Well,
What if that happened?
Yeah, well, if they knew about the policies over over who the leader of the party was, then they should be allowed to vote.
Should all the birds be allowed to vote if they're able to tell them what the policies are, and then they go over and poo on the designated
right
picture of what they want it to be?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, all right then. I'll answer your hypothetical.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
I can't remember what your hypothetical was.
but I thought the main reason
nothing to do with mongooses or birds. We're talking about the state election.
I thought the main reason that the Labor Party, like, they did do a really good job, though, right? Like, they won the election in the sense that they did better than the Liberal Party did, but just not good enough to win a majority. So they actually did a very good job.
But it wasn't anything to do with them. It was the casual protest vote that always happens when a party has a large majority in any parliament. It really, I think that them focusing on privatisation, which, honestly, do you care if your bills go up by $10 or $15? I pretend that I do to try and get people to vote for the Labor Party, but in reality, you can have it. Thanks for giving me electricity, whoever it is.
Oh, but
they should have been focusing on coal seam gas, because you know what's slightly more scary than your bills going up a little bit, guys? You not being able to drink water. Don't you think that's terrifying? Especially when the Liberal Party came out and said, all right, here's what's going to happen. We're not allowed to frack, i.e., extract toxic gases out of the ground by pumping toxic chemicals into the ground near the Sydney catchment dam. Are you going to shut down the ones that are currently in operation that broke down 3 times in January? No, well, we'd have to buy them back, and those are pretty obviously, it's waterfront. It's really expensive. We don't have the money for that. So those are still going to go ahead. Thanks to Mike Baird. Under Luke Foley, it would have been banned outright, because that's what the Labor Party does. It realises that there's something that's a little bit more important than what businesses want, and driving the 300 jobs that coal seam gas provides.
I heard that Labor just weren't going to build any more, but they weren't necessarily going to get rid of ones that were already there. Is that true at all?
Who told you that?
KJ.
How does KJ know? For everybody who's listening to the pod, KJ was the one that came in and argued against us that we are too biased in our reportings. And I think that right now we're really proving her wrong.
Yeah,
as
I'm
we're
trying
shedding
to play
both sides of the
advocate.
argument.
Yeah, I'm being KJ right now.
Good on you, Tom.
That's what she said.
The devil's advocate who's hiding his horns in a hippie beanie, you would definitely be the kind of guy that votes Liberal, especially seeing as your pants have a massive tear in them and you don't seem to care at all.
So is it true at all, or is that not true at all?
I don't know.
Well, there you go. What about the Greens were doing a whole statewide ban, right?
Yeah, but this is the whole thing about... Yes, I vote for the Greens, as do you, Tom, and everybody else listening out there. If you don't, I will say to you that I respect your decision, but in all honesty, I don't at all.
Your vote didn't count, did it?
No, my vote, as Robbie pointed out off mic, that I tried to go under the line and vote for every single candidate in the Senate. And then I remembered that New South Wales has the longest Senate ballot paper in the world. Out of every single democracy on the planet, New South Wales has a ridiculous amount of candidates. It's just this foo-froor of whoever puts their hand up gets put down on a piece of paper. So
how many numbers did you put down? You just did like 5 or something and then threw it in?
No, I went to about 31, and then I remember specifically thinking... 32 is... It's going to be very unlikely if 31 of my preferred candidates tie and the 32nd one gets put down. Maybe I'll just save the energy there at this point and fold it up and send it in.
It would take me 2 minutes, but like I just can't be bothered. But that doesn't... And he didn't know...
Why my vote doesn't count.
Yeah, so people that don't know, which should be nobody, is... if you're below the line, if you choose to vote below the line, you need to fill out every single... square, while if you go above the line you can just do one, and it's a much shorter list as well. But yeah, so Jordan's vote was complete, like half of his vote, his Senate vote, which was the most important vote, was completely uncounted.
And seeing as I'm in one of the strongest Liberal seats in the country, neither did my top vote. So
I thought you voted in Newtown.
Yeah, but it's an absentee vote.
Oh,
so
what's your actual seat?
I'm still voting for that. Much like the size of the ballot paper basically turns into a magic carpet at that point and flies over to Vaucluse.
Oh, you Vaucluse. Wow, yeah. Same
Not
with
a
me.
chance.
Both our
Not
votes
a
meant
chance.
nothing. Yeah. Mine's one of the most safe seats as well in Sydney for Liberal.
So
Crazy.
good. Just 2 of us in our own ballots, the last angry men. Nobody else would have voted for them.
Yeah.
Every single person that I saw there, much like when you walk past the Newtown ballots and everybody's got a green shirt on and knows who I am. When I walk past the Vaucluse ballots and everybody's in this blue shirt with stupid Kanye West sunglasses.
It is a really
I'm
weird
just
feeling.
either thinking maybe they're blind or maybe they just don't know who I am. This is ridiculous. I'm going to Newtown.
Yeah, because everybody in our kind of circle of people that we know is either green, besides Cameron and maybe KJ. Everyone
You didn't find out who she voted for?
No, she voted Greens, but
was that under pressure from you, or did she make up her mind?
we didn't even talk about it. But yeah,
I'm
everybody,
really scared to ask my girlfriend, actually.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Because her seat is Scott Morrison's. She is from the Shire. Her parents are deeply Liberal, and I'm really scared that all of my brainwashing propaganda over the years hasn't
done anything.
That would be really sad if I couldn't even convince my girlfriend on this matter.
Well, maybe you don't experience it as much. But yeah, like everybody in my life is Greens or Labor, and like, there's a few people. I guess like I know a couple, but it's a really like weird kind of event on the day of voting, going down into like Avalon Community Centre, and you're suddenly this like major minority, because it feels like everyone hides it during the year because it's so
no one
hard
wants to admit it, do they? How much more readily up for telling people
the left than
people,
right.
yeah,
I
especially people from the Greens,
right,
don't you think? Everybody always, because it doesn't matter if you're a Liberal or Labor supporter. If you hear that somebody is a Greens voter, there's kind of this jokey acknowledgement of, okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah. People are more outraged if you vote Liberal or Labor.
Yeah.
So it's a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Just like rainforests.
I do like that a lot
green.
more, actually. Like, I don't really like the outspoken Green, even though like we kind of are.
They've got to make their advertising a little more mainstream if they want to get mainstream votes, don't you think?
Yeah.
They've got to stop thinking that they're a fringe party and go for it, because every single ad for theirs spoke a lot to me and you, because it was talking about, I don't know, a renewable economy or big words like that. or
Other big word.
trying to say in as little words as possible, stop the corruption. Both of them are in ICAC. Vote Greens.
Yeah.
Too much information. Don't you think that they would have gotten much more votes, as in they would have had 8 seats instead of 4 in the lower house
Still,
if they
4's
just
really
said
successful.
Green means go. Go New South Wales.
Yeah, go, go, go. Rabbitohs. Like that.
Yeah, for each little pocket of Sydney that is represented by a different football team.
Yeah.
You could have replicated it every time, and I bet you would have won.
Yeah. Well, it's. I think. Do you think there is something in people's minds when they think of the Greens, they see Greenpeace, and they think Greenpeace activist group. I hate Greenpeace because they're so, like really
Walking up
kind of,
to you and demanding that you give them a couple of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they think,
Just
Greens, they must be
bums with a
Greenpeace,
pamphlet.
and they're probably not too they're not dissimilar in their ideology probably that much. Like they probably are fairly similar.
Definitely
but-
everybody who's in Greenpeace votes for the Greens.
Yeah,
Don't you
yeah.
think that if you voted for Labor Party, it would be kind of how we see Cameron, for instance, just a monster? And if you're listening, Cameron, I really need those papers on research on the middle class by Wednesday. So
Yeah,
you can
just send me a message.
hurry that along. That'd be great. It is my birthday. You got to be nice to me. And I don't have to be nice to you because, again, it's my birthday and I am going to be a brat about it. Sweet 16.
All right, well, let's go to your next present then.
Oh, good.
So it's
What are we
Jordan's
wrapping-
history
What are we
hour.
opening up now?
So you get to tell us something about history because have you done any videos in Rome? I think you have. You've done a video.
I
in
did
the
one on
past.
Rome, which was about this insane leader of the world. This is incredible to think about. There was once a man.
Let's hear it.
I'm putting my fingers all pinched together. It
Yeah.
feels like they're super glued at the moment because it's such a perplexing thought to me that this man ruled the world. He was a Barack Obama, except for with actual power. He wasn't even I suppose he was a puppet to his grandmother, but really this was there was no invisible government back in the day. There was just the government. This man controlled everything.
didn't
His
need to
name was
hide anything.
Elagabalus. He came into Rome in this black shell, and just like a Lady Gaga concert, came in with all of these dancing, sexualized slaves that were just in their equivalent of pink G strings and Brazilian bow and feather assortments. There's this egg. Everybody is forced to look at this because he won some military campaign, so he essentially controlled the armies, or his family did at least, and they used him as a puppet ruler. And then Elagabalus comes out as a 17-year-old boy, kicks open the egg shell, and emerges from it sort of half naked with a slave whipping him that he started dating, which was uncouth in Roman culture. You don't date slaves. It was fine that he was dating a man, actually, but it was not okay. It's actually not even okay. He should have married a woman, but it's okay to have sex with men.
So
back
he
then.
was
That was fine.
inside a big egg, and if the egg broke open and he emerged from it being whipped.
going, I'm here. Hello, Rome. Hello, my subjects. How much would that just be a total scandal if instead of Barack Obama coming up and talking to the million people in Chicago in a suit, he just comes out being like, don't call my name Alejandro. Coming out of
Because everyone
that was the equivalent of that back then.
because it would have been as official back then, right? Like Rome, it wasn't like a norm thing.
No, you
was
would
it?
have been in a really well-dressed emperor's military uniform, triumphantly walking in, possibly in a white horse, or maybe on a massive float on a throne. This guy didn't even have the throne. He just came out of that and then started getting whipped by his
was a
man
performer.
slave, who he used to play the submissive role even though he was emperor, and the guy he never got his freedom anyway, even though he was his long-lost love his whole life.
Oh,
He still kept him as a slave. Very weird man. Anyway, 4 years goes past of him just being completely incompetent. Ridiculous, stupid shenanigans constantly. Making soldiers dress up in bizarre animal clothing when they walk around just to make his life more fun. He completely made a mockery of the imperial. It was a scandal. I don't remember it. It was a bit before my time, but I remember all accounts said that it was just outrageous.
That's awesome.
He walks up to the podium, I think it was. I think he announced this publicly, that whoever shall give me a vagina shall be rewarded beyond all their wildest dreams in gold, women, whatever you want. Somebody, please, put a vagina on top of my penis. He wanted to be a hermaphrodite back then. He was the first person to have a sex change, or wanting to have a sex change in recorded history. And at that point, the Praetorian Guard said, all right, this guy's got to go. So they waited, and he was sitting on the toilet. Apparently, he was yelling while they were stabbing him, I'm taking a shit! I'm taking a shit! That was his last words before he died. That was a leader. And he had a term. He had a political term. He had the same reign as George Bush Sr., 4 years on the throne.
Oh, my Lord. That's...
So the guy we're talking about now is almost as insane, but that really takes the cake. We're talking about Honorius, who was the leader of Rome at the very decay of the empire, when it really started to all see through. No, the egg guys, that guy was actually during the peak, which was, you could get away with that back then. That was fine. It was kind of America in the 50s, let's say.
Right, okay.
It'd be fine if Elagabalus was ruling instead of Truman back then. But now, if that was Obama, that'd be a bit of a more
sign.
Serious, don't you think? Honorius was the same. He was in the Obama reign. The real... When the Golden Gate started to turn to rusted iron, as they always say, when they're talking about the empire's decline. Honorius was obsessed with chickens and pigeons, had thousands of them. He was a terrible military leader. He... Amazingly, because in this period of Rome, nobody really stayed on the throne longer than a year or two, because there was another usurper. Because the empire was so massive, you'd never see the emperor. There'd be very few statues of him, but there'd just be this boss general at the front of the Germanic gates, slaughtering wave after wave of barbarians. And then he would say, this is bullshit. I'm keeping the empire afloat. I should be emperor. Of course you'd say, yeah, this guy's awesome. This guy's the one that's keeping us all safe. We declare him emperor. Then he'd march to Rome. The Roman emperor would get really cushy. He'd have to send out all of his forces to the borders because they were constantly being attacked at this point. Yeah. So he'd have no one to defend him except for a few Praetorian guards, and usually he'd lose the battle without even that much of a war, I suppose. The civil wars were kind of really... There was a few big ones, but most of the time it was kind of small. It was really rare in this period of time that someone would die a natural death. Every single emperor was assassinated or executed for maybe 100 years before him.
Wow.
He lived to a natural death on the throne in the most tumultuous period in Roman history. It was such a phenomenon.
How did he do it?
Nobody knows. It was just because everybody was so preoccupied with the chaos that was happening around the empire that he kind of just sat on the throne, didn't do anything, fed his chickens and birds while his really, really capable general, who was half Visigoth, which I love this point about Roman history, that it's this real fantasy world where when you think of someone being half Visigoth, you kind of think of him, in my mind at least, he's half lizard, half man.
From Skyrim.
Kind of like just waddling into the room really slowly going, my lord, we have to get to the Broaden Gate before summertime, otherwise I'd need to hibernate.
Please, my lord, the pigeons. If it pleases me, lord.
And then when he says, yes, go defend us against the Germans, he says, at once, sire, and then spreads forth gigantic reptilian wings and flies out to the German border in a few minutes. That's why I love history, folks.
What, did you enjoy that? Was that a nice...
Anyway, the point is... No, we've got more to go with this one. Anyway, so he was the real bread and butter of the empire. He was the one that was keeping it together. Won a ridiculous amount of wars against barbarians that were constantly at the borders, flowing through all these different races, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Goths, all of them constantly, just wave after wave of them. And he was fighting them all back, winning every single war. This little dipshit emperor that changed the capital first to Milan and then changed it to Ravenna because it was really easy to defend in Ravenna, and Rome was completely exposed, but it had huge walls, so it was basically impenetrable. But
I thought it was a really perfect
hard
defensive I thought Rome was really good to defend
No.
initially.
Initially it was because it was around hills and when people were kind of not that advanced and they had a very advanced army in comparison to the rest of the world at that point. Yeah, it was pretty easy to defend when you knew military formations and everybody else was just this wave of people
Oh, I
with
thought, like,
pitchforks and
geographically
throwing
it
pigs
was.
at you.
Yeah, I thought it was like geographically like a really great like, hub.
What?
Wasn't it like a really good hub, like geographically? Like, isn't that why Rome formed?
Yes,
there?
it was really good for strategic measures, as in you could deploy troops all throughout Italy because it was dead in the
Okay,
center.
but physically, like as rock formations and
Yeah,
stuff, it wasn't that
hard to defend. Really good to deploy troops and attack, and good when the empire was in its golden years because it was in the center of its empire. So
Yeah,
in
right.
any direction, it was probably the closest place that you could be.
great. Yeah.
He changed it to down South Italy in this country, in this city called Ravenna. He killed his main general that was fighting all of the wars because senators started whispering in his ears that he was plotting against him. And if he was, thank God somebody competent would have taken over the throne anyway.
Yeah.
But he killed him. He married off his half-sister, brought his half-sister back from that general, put him into the royal court, and then he started getting real friendly with his sister, and his sister got really creeped out and moved over to the East Roman Empire, which was still really strong, because in all that area, he was still just like,
There's nowhere to run, baby. You gotta do this for the emperor.
how creepy is that?
Yeah.
So she went over there, and she was also a really competent leader as well. She was very good at managing politics. He had nobody at this point. This is when the empire started to really collapse because then the Visigoths broke through. They had no competent general. All the armies just dispersed entirely. He had no armies throughout the entire Western Empire except for in Africa. Everything in Spain, in Gaul, in Germany, all of that was gone. Most of them were barbarians, which this half Visigoth, half Roman kept because he was saying that he was of the same blood, we fight together. But as soon as he was gone, they all just went back to the Visigoths. So this huge horde of barbarians became twice as massive overnight. They all started marching to Rome and they were hungry. They didn't have any food because the Romans started choosing the scorched earth policy, which is burn all the crops as they go. They get to the tip of Rome. He has nothing, so he just sits in Ravenna and waits for troops to come from Africa.
From Carthage? Is that where?
Yeah, Carthage, Libya, the bottom was pretty much still intact. There's nothing that they can do. They're sitting there waiting for Rome to fall outside because they're barbarians. They still don't have catapults and siege materials, so they just wait outside. And everybody in there starts to starve to death slowly, but they still keep... This is where it starts to get really creepy, and this is why I always think about the collapse of society is that razor thin, because even after 3 days, they had a gladiatorial match, which is just to say that everything's fine, we'll have troops soon, but they didn't know because they were completely cut out. They thought that troops were coming, but they weren't. So people started to starve really quickly because it's a city of 1 million people, and there was no food coming in.
Yeah.
So they're watching a gladiatorial match happen, and then the vanquished foes start to fall, and then a couple of people start yelling in the crowd saying, "How much for the meat? How much for the meat?" And then everybody's going,
guy.
"I'm getting the meat, I'm getting the meat." And there was this massive, huge brawl, and then everybody dragging the corpses away and killing each other and starting to eat each other. Cannibalism was rife throughout the city within a week.
Oh my God.
It's that close, isn't it? It's the same as if that could happen in New York. This is the most
happen in New
advanced
York.
society and was the most advanced society right up until the 1700s. It was still, there was no city that reached 1 million people because nowhere in the planet was that organized for 1,000 years afterwards.
That's crazy.
Just like that fell. Then the Visigoths entered Rome.
All
They
in-
plundered. They found that there was no food there, and so they had to move on and start sacking other places. And they just went rife throughout Italy, taking everything. The empire had essentially fallen, but they kept it alive sort of for 60 years by making deals with certain barbarians. But there was no such thing as a Roman army anymore. It was
But they'd
completely
all gone
gone.
to the east, right? To East Rome.
Anyone that had any money left, but all the aristocrats that had land in Spain or Gaul, that was all completely plundered and bought for by the Visigoths, who, this was kind of cool to think about, they saw it as the California of the modern day back then. So they used to see that people would buy and sell land from beyond the border. They saw that that's how society worked. So then they'd come in and then really, in barbaric sort of way, send a messenger to some aristocrat running. There's a great story of this aristocrat running from France to go to Italy, and then this barbarian sending a messenger up to him, and he thought he was going to get killed, and then in really crap written Latin, just like a child writing it, saying, "I would like to buy your property for 20 gold pieces." And he was just struck by it, and he said, "Yeah, all right, I'll take the 20 gold pieces." It was way less than what it was worth, but he was trying, you know? They really wanted to be a part of that Roman dream. And that was another reason why they invaded Rome. They were also terrified of Christianity at that point, so they didn't sack any religious symbols, which I think is another great part about the fantasy of the ancient worlds, that they were still really scared by. It's really cute thought in a way, isn't
spirits.
it? Yeah. So they
Magic.
thought that it was they shouldn't anger God in that way. So those places were protected, and the popes would just bless whoever came in, and then that would be their way of keeping all of their gold. So it was only the aristocrats that were really screwed over. While this is all happening, Honorius is in Ravenna. The empire falls. His trusted eunuch walks in and says, "My lord, Rome is lost." At which point he breaks down into tears and says, "But I was just feeding him a moment ago," and then is on the ground bubbling, just this complete wreck of a man. And the eunuch realizes that he's talking about his favorite chicken. His favourite chicken was called Rome. He thought Rome was dead. That's why he was crying.
Oh my God.
He reminds him that Rome was under siege, and that it was
Rome is a
clearly the
city.
city of Rome, the capital of the empire that had fallen, hadn't been touched for 800 years. And under his watch it fell. He got up at that point and said, "Oh, I thought you were talking about my chicken," and went throughout his day. He didn't care at all. That was the emperor at the time, and he died a natural death.
How did he die a natural death? If they were like at the city, did they let him live or something?
He was in Ravenna. It was easy to defend Ravenna. The Vikings wouldn't touch it because it was a long swamp marshland followed by really impenetrable walls and really rocky oceans.
So he was alright for the rest of his life.
He just stayed there.
Well, that doesn't
died
seem
fine.
He doesn't seem that dumb though. Maybe just like he knew that it was all, a waste of thought. Like.
Okay, all right. As a huge enthusiast of the Roman Empire, I still wish that it was alive today. No, I think you're right, but it's hard for me to swallow that reality, really, that someone would just sit there and go, "Oh, let it burn."
That's a really, really cool story.
It's nice, isn't it? And there'll be plenty more lessons of that in the future.
Yeah, I love that. That was really, really cool.
Thanks,
Robbie
guys.
liked
I'm
it,
really, glad that I
love
could
those
teach
stories.
you a
I
little bit
always
about
thought
that.
these stories are really cool. Rome's awesome.
Thank you. At the risk of sounding like a massive nerd, it is really cool.
Yeah. Because I'm always thinking about I just know it from computer games basically, from Rome Total War and from Age of Empires. Not even Age of Empires really, but a little bit just the names and stuff. And then it's really cool hearing all these. It's like a soap opera hearing this stuff.
It is, isn't it? That's the greatest part about the history in the ancient world, because it's mostly just rumors, because it's usually one historian that we have, and then there'll be a 300-year gap, and then we'll find another historian that talks about that 300 years, and he doesn't really know what was happening that whole time. He's just hearing folklore and writing it down and putting all the gaps together.
Folklore would be full of drama and human problems and stuff, because that's what people would like to talk about.
There was not much of this economic history and whatnot. It was really just the passions, the scandal, the lies.
Yeah, because
that's our history right up until about World War II, really.
Because I always thought it was about gold, and they just overprinted gold. An economic downfall was Rome's biggest defeat, was that they worked out gold had value and then just thought they could just overprint gold and inflation hit, and it just their currency fell apart, and that was one of the main contributing factors to Rome's decline.
Well, that's one theory, and I really appreciate that input.
Yeah.
Because I do actually think that is a massive, massive reason why Rome fell, but that definitely wasn't it. There's no one factor to why it fell, but you've got to say that and this is what's even scarier about now as well, is because environment was definitely a huge factor as to why Rome fell. Purely because Asia started to green up. It started going out of the small ice age that was happening just in that region of the world. Started to produce much more food. There was a huge population of people that didn't have the land space really, but were able enough to grow to the age where they could fight, that they just started putting heaps of pressure on the borders of Rome. And on top of that, they started learning the tactics of the Romans because they'd come in as refugees because they'd be getting pushed out all the time in their lands. The Romans would accept them. They'd teach them about how to fight, and then they'd go back and then they'd teach all of their Viking friends about, testudos, formations, and, all the goodies,
It feels like it's so similar to today, but at the same time, like there's a lot of things that make you feel as though, like, today we're a lot safer. There's a lot of things that also make you feel like we're way more fragile. Like, just because everything seems so bulked up. Like, if you look at, like, the coasts of India or something, when you watch those figures of, just like sea level rising or something like that, and how you'd have like 100,000 displaced people, and then like the carry on effect of like how much that would just like affect like everything. Like it's like it feels like we're in a really kind of stable position, but at the exact same time we're in this really kind of, if one thing went really wrong somewhere, it would just kind of like domino effect around the place and everything would change.
It's exactly it, isn't it? Displaced people throughout all of history is always a huge factor as to why an empire will fall, because there's a huge economic strain as well as there's a military need. So, for instance, the Visigoths had nowhere to go. That's why they sacked Rome. They were willing to wait it out, which was a very terrifying idea back then, to take on, the master of the world for 1,000 years. Think of the psychology of taking that on. It was only if you're in one of those burn the boat situations, but it wasn't even a burn the boat situations. It was, we have no food. So they were kind of the punks in, I guess, Mad Max 3 when they're waiting to try and get into the oil refinery. Yeah. They needed it.
Yeah,
they had no option.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like, Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, Robbie, come over to Mike. Ask old historian Jordan what questions you've got, because I've got the answers, baby.
No, it's more just a comment, really. But they're...
Give me the mic.
Yeah, go on.
They're as interesting as conspiracy theories, aren't they? That these like historical stories. If you go back far enough, because...
More interesting because they're true.
Sort of.
I know, yeah. Like
they're more based on a true story.
Yes, sort of
that's
true.
What they have
history
is. That shaky air about them, That
don't they? Yeah,
lends them.
People don't really know.
Imaginative.
That's it, isn't it? It's the imagination of it that really captivates the mind, as imagination does. We all know this.
And I think it's also the thing about like all our fantasy novels and everything about that world is, we've been taught to like really love the idea of fantasy, and then you hear these stories and it reminds you of like, oh, that's kind of like the Lord of the Rings. I love the Lord of the Rings. Like
exactly. Exactly.
It's like Skyrim. Like it's yeah.
We're a good species of human beings, really. Aren't we?
All right, so now do you want to explain this whole magic thing, Jordan? Because I don't.
Yes, with pleasure, Tom.
Happy birthday.
As we...
Happy birthday.
Very welcome. And may I just say, retrospectively, sorry I forgot yours. Happy birthday, Tom. Hope you enjoyed the eclair that I gave you. That is a lot like Homer Simpson receiving a donut from the Devil Dead Flanders, and now you owe me big time because you ate it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even. It was an eclair that should have been in Coles, but I did buy it from a bakery.
It was good. It was really nice. Thank you.
Oh, you really? Because I was going to say shut it down. I don't know its name. I'm never going to go there again. But its existence is offensive.
It wasn't as good as the Bondi one, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So what? What's up?
Well, regardless of how much you like eclairs, Tom, we also know that you secretly love magic far more, as you are undeniably, as we pointed out in the last episode, as you controlled Robbie's mind to explain to me that there was a V-can hidden behind the cushion that no mortal's eyes could have possibly seen, even though I exposed the can for a split second and put it back into the dust. Robbie, what it is, we know that what happened is that you controlled his mind and told him that there was a V-can behind it.
Controlled
This is
you to move it
undeniable.
as well. And, yeah.
It's all recorded. We have this documented that this happened. As a result, and also that you predicted the future as well. Human beings can't do that. You know who can do it? Wizards. As a result, you are a wizard. And as much as you hate to admit it, with your hobo pants trying to make yourself look like you're the lowest of men, you really are the highest amongst all of us. And you are controlling my mouth as we speak. You are I don't even know if it's evil magic or good magic anymore, but you've got a lot of power over human beings, and we are trying to get some funds for the pod without asking you guys for it. This is what we would come up with as a nice little quick cash injection. Tom is going to sell his magical services to you, and so you're going to be listening to an ad. We are now sponsored by 2 businesses. The first one being Lonely Kids Club, who gives us nobody at all, sometimes gives us some T-shirts for the pod. And Tom's, what's the business name that you came up with?
Tom's Magic Emporium.
Okay, all right. It's a really catchy name. Everyone loves the word
Swearing under his
Emporium.
breath. Oh, Jesus. I feel
Emporium
exactly the
is
same.
really, you're right. Emporium's the place to go. It is the modern day mart, isn't it? It's really memorable.
All right, Robbie, hit the music. But I'm not hearing the music, but there'll be music playing under this.
Yeah, we didn't have to tell him that.
Okay. All right. The experts know that Tom's Magic Emporium has it all. Are you in the need for some wizardry? Shopping for some luck? Then I've got you covered. Contact Tom's Magic Consultancy for everything from one-on-one day seminars to my online wizardry course. You don't have to be an expert. Contact Tom's Magic Emporium on the Friendlyjordies Facebook page comment section. There it is.
His face. He looks so dirty. He just looks like he's cheapened himself so much. Why do you feel so bad about it? Why do you feel so bad? It was a nice ad. I don't know where the feeling of it just feels like your whole body is encrusted with old subway filth at the moment. Rats running everywhere, breeding all through his veins.
Oh, it's just, yeah. Didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, we all know the reason why you don't enjoy it, though, is because if you reveal your magical secrets to people, you don't have them anymore. So maybe, we don't know. We're going to have to see if this advertising works, but you still got to pay the $200 to get his fee, to get his services. But we're not guaranteeing anything anymore. He could have just gotten rid of all of his magical powers by admitting it. Sorry to make you make that ad. But,
Yeah, you don't know
it is
what
my
you've
birthday.
done, Jordan. All right, now we're going to our other sponsor, Lonely Kids
you want to
Club.
get away from that, don't you?
So, as we all know, Lonely Kids Club have kindly donated us the Goosebumps book about time travel or something like that, and we will be reading a passage from that now. Well, Robbie will be, because he's the best orator here, and he's got a real knack for reading novels.
Got glasses.
So the vote this week was, because it's a Choose Your Scare book, and on Facebook we voted that we would like to steer the truck away from a potential collision with your family.
As opposed to what? What was the other option?
The other one was go for the brakes. So it was much of a muchness really in a decision, but yeah, we're trying to steer
God,
away.
we've got a really extreme subscriber base, don't we? Steering's so much more action-packed.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Why don't I just stop the madness?
All of them have been action-packed besides the choice to stay in New York instead of go to the future. Maybe that is more action-packed as well. Because it seems more boring staying in New York than going to like a future world.
Oh, they go into moods, do they? Much like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And this week we're going into the evil part. Because this is actions. You never know what could happen there, so I'm just assuming that it's evil. There's nothing really evil about action, but yeah, you guys are a sick bunch, aren't you?
All right, let's hear it, Robbie.
And we've chosen to steer.
Yes.
Just as a... You push the driver aside and manage to get your hand on the steering wheel. You try to pull the truck to the right, but it's much harder than you thought. The horrified faces of your family, including your own, loom in the windshield. "Get out of the way!" you scream. In desperation, you pull again on the wheel. With a sudden lurch, the truck veers to the right. You breathe a sigh of relief. You've done it. You've saved your family. But you'd better hold on tight. You still can't stop the truck. And this time, the runaway vehicle is headed right at a brick wall. Stop reading right here. You don't really want to know what happens next. Let's just say you were a hit on Broadway.
It happened! We're dead! We're all in the afterlife together, guys!
The end.
Oh!
No way.
That's it.
We're
It's
here on
happened!
Broadway.
It has happened! There's no going back now, guys! Oh, man, we're all
Or
in
is
purgatory now.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
some
that was
couches
fun.
here. It's a
Goosebumps
pretty
was
good.
good.
The afterlife isn't that bad. It's exactly the same as real life.
Did we make the rule that we just go back and read the next? Because there's no option here. We have to go back.
And we change the rules all the time.
I reckon
We're
let's
America
just
in the UN.
Do the other option. Then we went for the
reckon?
breaks. Well, should we wait a week and just do the breaks?
I'm keen to try another story, but
Oh, we're
Another
sick of the
story. You don't want to find the way out of this
Time maze?
warped
What about the
madness.
Doctor
What's more
and
exciting
Denny?
than time travel?
I don't know. I'm just a bit bored by the story. I don't know how to explain it to you.
What about Denny?
I'm sort of. I'd be happy to move on.
Oh my god! All right, well,
Well, that
let's put
comes
it
to
a
vote. First
Yeah.
of all, you've got to. That's the vote for next week, guys.
Wait,
should
should
we
we
move
do-
on to the other R.L. Stein book, or keep going with TikTok? You're dead.
Well, can we just at least read the other parts, and then we can see what the proper choices are? So there's another vote, or do you want to just do the breaks?
No, you guys chose death. You put
Yeah.
yourselves
So
in
you get a
this mess.
penalty
You
for a
don't.
week.
There's no such thing as another life.
Okay, you get it.
But we all know that reincarnation exists, and so next week you will be formed into the exact same person.
And now we're doing the break option, which probably won't kill us, because it can't. Man, imagine if it did. So there's that, or we can read the other Goosebumps book because Robbie's bored of this one, which is what's the other one about? What's the other
Are
one?
you bored too?
Is the other one like a haunted house or something like that?
No, it's got a bat on the front of it, and the bat
It's
looks.
got a bat on the front. Yeah, that's
Nah,
right.
I wouldn't have ever been scared of it, even when I was a baby.
Maybe it's about
That's
vampires
not
or
real. What?
It could be about vampires. That's probably what it is.
Ah. Yeah, now I've got the shivvies. Yeah,
Yeah,
you've
the shivvies. Give me
my
the
spine
shivvies.
does that little xylophone sound. If you can hear it
Yeah.
in the there it is. That was my spine.
All right, so yeah, the vote is we keep going with the book or we change to the Bat book.
So we hit the brakes, or we do the other Goosebumps, or should we give them? Should we do another book?
2 options, like it or leave it.
Yeah, no, we're staying with
Two
Goosebumps.
options.
Because Lonely Kids Club gave us the other book. So.
Yeah.
So thanks for both, but you gave us something really difficult to read, didn't you? It's sort of the same as a puzzle, except for there's no skill involved in it whatsoever.
hate
It is a
this.
madman run.
That's so. If we change books, it's just such like a.
Great, isn't it? We're reading. Yeah.
Stop halfway. Just bored. I'm just bored.
It was the end. It's at the end.
Yeah,
There's 20 VNs.
We already died once. We've done like you set a precedent already. You can't. Oh my gosh. Maybe if we die a third time, that would be fair enough. Like it's like we've striked out. Anyway, all right.
I say we go to the bitter end.
I think
but
we should.
really, it's up to you guys, isn't it?
All right.
I'm just saying that if
No,
you
no,
do...
we'll take the vote.
You convinced me.
Well, you've still got the option. Sorry.
Robbie invented a new option and now he's against it as well. We all want the book to continue.
But the options are still
But the option
new
is
book.
still available.
They remain. They remain.
Yeah. So it's a
Over
new
to you
book
guys.
or what we're on.
Get voting. As you did last week, thank you very much for doing what we told you to do.
Yeah, so it's on the Facebook comment section. So if you're not listening to this via Facebook and you're in your car or something, remember to go on to Facebook later and comment.
Or text and drive at the same time.
I
dare
dare
you. Yes. Personal jinx. Yeah. And a personal jinx on you too, who writes it. Jinx in this case being the exact opposite of what it means. We hope that you live.
Yeah, you're driving right now. Get your phone out.
Drive safe and text at the same time. Can you do it? You're the action-packed daredevils. You proved it with this week's steering of the wheel into a brick wall.
Do you reckon you could get in trouble for like encouraging that? Yeah. Just don't do it.
Yeah, I reckon you could.
So yeah, don't.
But we're
don't
all
text
crazy here, aren't we? We're all just
do it anyway.
whatever, man.
Yes, has to go in the secret section. Don't put it in the secret section. It's not long enough. It's like a 2-minute, yeah. All
And
right.
don't drive and text unless you want to do it by yourself. We're not endorsing it. We're just really heavily talking about the positives of that situation. But you have to make up your own mind.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Lonely Kids Club. Now we're going to be doing Jordan. So tell us what happened to you that you're so freaked out about.
Well, I think it was a couple of years ago, but it could have been yesterday as I remember it so clearly. I was at a party that was, for lack of a better word, demonic. It was in my modelling days, and they were heady times filled with cocaine and hookers. Even though there was a bunch of attractive model women there was still a bunch of hookers riding around because a lot of them were from Russia and they doubled up. So, yes, there was technically hookers there.
But you didn't participate in any of that. It was just around you.
No, I deeply regret it now that I'm older and that's never going to be there again. But yeah, no, I was really straight edge about it. And every time someone was snorting cocaine around me, I'd say that, you know that that's illegal, don't you? That kind of person at the party was pathetic.
It's like
This Brazilian man that had it wasn't even a 6-pack, it was a 10-pack. That kind of a guy was sitting there snorting cocaine from the ghetto favelas of Brazil. And I was saying to him that, hey, you know that cocaine's not good for you, right? And so obviously, how can I tell a demigod such as that anything? One of the coolest men to have ever existed. This international male model that was from the streets of Brazil. And so he was always having a real party at the same time. There was nothing bad going on in this guy's life except for this little voice in the background going, cocaine, expensive.
So you're at one of these parties and what happened?
I walked into this particular party. They're constant like this all the time, but this one was specifically scary in my mind because it was the same vibe as, you know, in Blade 1, I think it is, how they have that party at the top of a roof, which is where ours was as well. We're always hanging around millionaires that are trying to have sex with the females in the group, and the guys get invited along, I guess, to make the females comfortable enough to go there in the first place. But really, we are the police officers in that context of the Blade movie that try and sneak into situations using our badge to try and kill people that the vampires want killed, so that we too get turned into vampires one day. That was our dream at that time, to be a person that is really sensitive to skin and bursts into ash as soon as we see the sun. But at the same time, get to live forever. So God never closes a door without opening a really heathen window. I was in that situation. We were standing around one of those pools that was reflected by lights that were shimmying through the blue chlorine crystal clear water of the pool. And we're all sitting around there because it was just vampire as. The guy comes out to me and says to me, "Hey, Jordan, come in here, mate. Listen to this." Drags me in. He's the guy that owns it. He's this fat Malaysian millionaire that has a really white silken shirt on that is completely unbuttoned with a really expensive gold chain on him. Never did a day's work in his entire life. I said to him, "What do you do with your life?" Looking around at his house, expecting that he's, I don't know, a property developer or something. And he says, "I watch DVDs. Have you seen City of God? It's a pretty good movie."
That's a cool answer, though.
I guess. Yeah, it is kind of cool to just be this leech on society that does literally
Well, maybe he
zero.
does have a job. But
His
he
television
thinks-
is the vein that he sucks all the juices out of. Make your own movie. You've got enough money. He drags me into the house. There's all this really Cafe Del Mar music going do 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 do. Kind of scary when you think about it in retrospect, isn't it? The room's kind of dark. There's all these models making out with each other on the couches, sprayed around. It is a really rich place, but it's kind of just replaced human beings with a bunch of dogs and cats having sex with each other. That's the vibe that part had specifically. And then he drags me to this door, says, "Listen into that." I hear a bunch of really scandalous moans, groans, and bodies shuffling around and smulching each other when I press my ear up against the door. Apparently there's an orgy going on there with 20 people in it. That is a huge orgy, isn't it? The only other orgy I've ever heard somebody talk about, there was 5 people in it. This was 4 times
How
the
many
size
people
of
do you
that.
need for an orgy?
4, is it? Isn't that an orgy after that? That's not a threesome anymore, is it?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a couple, few, orgy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was at that stage. It was Roman aristocracy with a vomitorium, and the vomitorium wasn't a designated room in this place. It was just anywhere you needed to go. He was rich. He could afford people to clean it up in the day. He didn't mind, I don't think, because I do remember seeing parcels of vomit there, not on that day, but on other days. It was just like it was a pillow around or a cushion or something. It didn't matter that it was there to him, really. He was that kind of a guy. I
So
listen to
did
that
you-
orgy. I'm kind of scared. He goes, "You can go in there if you want, man." And then and I say this, which is, you would never say this about an orgy, would you? No, I'm fine for now, thanks. Either you
think
want to
you
be
would.
there or you don't want to be there.
for now.
You would never say,
Maybe later,
I'm
maybe later."
not in the mood at the moment for that. You're either up for orgies or you're not.
Yeah, you either confidently walk in and undress, or you don't walk in at all. Which was what you did, I guess. You didn't look at it. I would have at least peeked in and it's such a
Yeah, you would have
curious
gone to the
thing.
party, wouldn't you, Tom? Just been in that mass array of humanity swelled into this, I guess, kind of just a ball of flesh. You
No,
like
it's
the
too
idea of being
nerve-wracking.
at the center of that. Rebirth me, my
Ball
fellow
of
human
flesh.
beings.
Yeah, just like snakes, how they form into a big ball. No, I wouldn't go in. I definitely.
But you'd have a
looked
nice
there.
little peek in there,
Yeah, I
wouldn't
would.
you?
As if you
Sick
wouldn't.
pervert.
Everybody, I would expect to at least have a pick. I wouldn't be like.
It says a lot about your assumptions of how perverse humanity is, and I agree with you 100%. And I really wanted to have a peek in there as well, but I thought it was rude. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I was really curious and wanted to see it. I don't know why I was trying to act really pious and high and mighty religious about it. The truth of the reality was that I was scared of that
Were
situation.
you like, yeah, no, I don't need to look in. Yeah, I know what an orgy looks like. I'll go in later. Like that was kind of you were trying to be cool.
I don't know
Oh,
why
yeah,
I was
yeah,
trying to
orgy.
impress this guy either. I didn't find him impressive at all. He reminded me a lot of the guy in Miami Vice that gives you missions to go and kill other mafia dons. He's got that real sleazy, small, balding little gopher look about him.
Yeah, right.
He drags me into another room after that and starts snorting cocaine, and I'm sitting in the room listening to him off his head saying that I'm the Don, you gotta, if you want to get anything, you gotta come to me. I run this city. You understand that? I run this city. Really close to my face yelling that. It's pretty... That was even scarier than the orgy, I think, is this balding 40-year-old man saying straight in my face, "I own Malaysia. You don't understand how I own this place. You know? This city mine." It was really, and at that point I realized that, okay, I'm not a religious man, but definitely demons have possessed me at this point. There is no scientific explanation for how demons could not be in this area if they do in fact exist. They're all conjugating here tonight. I have been possessed purely by the same as secondhand smoke. I got the cancer from being there, the spiritual cancer, if you will, and I'm still scared that there's demons inside me now, but I didn't realize that there would have been until a couple of days ago, and now, just like when someone yells out, "Is there a doctor on the plane?" I'm asking the same thing. Is there a human being in this room? I need an emergency exorcism. And I can't do it to myself because I'm clearly being possessed by being in that horrible orgy conditions. And Tom can't do it either because he's a magical wizard and he can't extract spirits. It's against the spiritual code of wizards. They can't do that. We all know that's the
So
rule.
Robbie, our sound man, has kindly volunteered to exercise Jordan.
And before we go into this, Robbie, can we just, for a gauge, how much do you believe in evil spirits before we get into this?
Not a lot.
And
Well, you know, when you're pressed in an emergency situation, the
do
foot
what
doctor
you gotta
becomes a
do.
general GP. You got to remember what you remember. Same as him, how he has to remember his medical training over the last 6 years of how to deliver a baby on the plane, and it's really huggy because all he can remember is, "I just cure foot fungus. I just cure foot fungus." The same as you. I'm sure you did religious studies at school. You have
we
to do
all
the
learned how
same
to
thing
perform
now.
exorcisms, and
We did. That was 101.
yeah, pull from that knowledge, Robbie. So this, by the way, was just like a very quick Google search of how to perform a simple exorcism, and we had
results.
We had results.
Which is
Apparently, yeah.
resounding.
And the websites were eerily scientific in that, like, they'd be like, so there's two kinds of exorcisms. One can only be performed by a registered priest. If you're not a registered priest, it won't work. If you are a registered priest, this is the one to do. If you're not, here's a simpler one, just for the everyday man. Like, this one has been shown to work in the past. This one hasn't. Like, it was, and this one we have right now does work, apparently.
For your average demons, so if you're possessed by Satan, for instance, you'd obviously need to go for the good stuff.
They're
But if
all
you've just
for-
got your average little goblin gnome thing that chews on your head when you're in that pit of despair in hell.
Yeah, they're
This
all
is
for
for
like
you.
fallen angel. You can tell how annoyed I must have been, like, reading this and trying to find this. But yeah.
Yes, as a wizard, evil spirits do annoy you, as you are clearly here on the side of light.
Yeah, so I have found this spell for Robbie to read out and to heal Jordan for
Thanks,
his
Tom.
birthday. Yeah.
Okay. God's creature, water, I cast out the demon from you in the name of God and the Father Almighty, in the name of Jesus Christ, his Son, our Lord, and in the power of the Holy Spirit.
I feel it coming out.
May you be purified water and power to drive out all power of the enemy. In fact, to root out and banish the enemy himself, along with his fallen angels.
It's genuinely working.
We ask this through the power of our Lord Jesus Christ, who is coming to judge both the living and the dead and the world.
It's way more dramatic
by
than I thought it would
fire. Amen.
Oh, can't see what's happening right now. It's stuck around. It just knocked over Robbie's already broken amplifier. It's an evil demon. It's coming out.
All right,
Yeah, that was
great,
the
guys.
sound of a window getting broken. Thanks, Robbie. I feel way better. as a
Robbie was
result of that.
splashing water on Jordan's face through all of that, by the way. Yeah, that was really good how into that you got, Robbie.
Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I can't believe that actually worked. It turns out that cheap movies from the 80s where there is an emergency situation like that do usually end up being positive. They are based on real events, apparently. I don't feel anything evil in me anymore.
Yeah, well, I think that was really successful. Fantastic. Cool.
To prove that I'm not evil, I'm even going to be polite now and say thanks, Robbie. and even to prove that I'm even less of a demon, I'm now writing up I've now given you guys the script of what happens when John Howard finally admits that I am his illegitimate son, and the script is very mean to both Tom and Robbie.
Yeah, when we were sent this script,
But that was when I had a demon in me.
yeah. I read through it and I was like, oh man, like this is really harsh. And then sent it to Robbie and he was like, oh, all right. But yeah, again, because
But
it's,
again,
your,
this is-
it's your week, so whatever
And
you
it's,
need.
yeah, but this is the whole thing, is that I'm trying to get the story straight, that it's not me that's being mean to you guys, it is John Howard. So I'm preparing you guys. This is a preemptive biography of what will happen in the future.
Yeah, all right.
Definitely. Thanks for being accepting.
All right. So again, though, this is for you, Robbie, more than anyone, because you're showcasing your acting career. So,
Even in your birthday, it's good to give.
yeah. So Jordan's
Yeah.
giving to you a great script that you can read out and showcase.
Thanks
in
so
your
much.
show.
I've been having a lot of positive feedback, and I'm really looking forward to this, to my career in acting.
Yeah. I wish people were actually writing in some form or another. Are they? Are you getting personal contacts? Or?
I get personal messages, and I'm very appreciative. Thank you so much. No,
that's great to
legitimately, I
hear.
mean, my parents are really proud of this, and I'm very much
Appreciative.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to this as a career, and thank you so much.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, well, if there's an outlet to let you try and perform, then it's our duty to provide.
And we need to nurture these little seeds of creativity so they can blossom into the mighty oak tree that will be Robbie in 20 years' time when he appears on such notable films as American Pie 17, the college that wouldn't shut down.
Well, we can all dream, can't we? I mean,
All right, so it's called John Howard the script.
I'll be playing John Howard, Todd will be Todd, and
Yes.
Robbie will, of course, be playing me, who
Jordan.
will be... And this again is a preemptive biography. This will happen, guys, as we've established. If you've just joined us randomly at this point of the podcast, I don't know why you skipped so much of it and just landed in at this point. But may I say, incredible coincidence
Great
that I'm
timing.
reminding you
Welcome.
right now that this is because somebody wrote in and said that I look exactly like a young John Howard, and it is undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why we're talking about it now.
Yeah, so Jordan's
that
playing
reason.
John Howard. All right, begin. Are you ready, Robbie, firstly? This
Yes.
is a casting session. Okay.
Here we go. Son,
yes, Dad.
hey! Are you looking at your potato science project as a joke, or are you really just saying that because you think it's me?
Yeah, I was joking. Haha. Want to play catch, Dad? I'm 19.
Listen here, you Kiwi fuck.
Dad, I'm not Kiwi. The actor who's playing me was born there. Unless you were referring to the fruit? Because I ate one a week ago, so I guess it's part of me.
I'm referring to both.
That is so hurtful. And I, your son Jordan, can't believe we're related as I'm a really nice guy and I never go out of my way just to be mean to people.
See, it's all on record.
Yeah.
He's John Howard.
Stay in character.
Oh my god. No, sorry, I'm up
It's
there.
all-
Oh, I wish I had some biting remark that would cut you down to size, but I can't think of anything. As you are a really good guy, Jordan. I can't deny climate change. I mean, I can deny climate change till the cows come home, but I cannot deny a fact that is that blatant. You're really cool.
I can't believe you were in charge of international diplomacy for 12 years. Now New Zealanders think that Australians don't like them, and it's all your fault.
Oh my god, son.
It's just the script plan to pay us out. All right, keep going.
Look, it's real events. You can't airbrush history. You got to get to the gritty of it. Oh my God, son! I put a 10% GST on goods and services, not on matters of the heart, which is why I don't feel taxed at all by that comment by 10%. 9.5% more around the mark, I reckon.
Hi guys, it's me, Tom.
Shut up, Tom, you atheist walking anus with a little cigarette coming out of your sphincter/mouth. That's right, we all know you smoke.
Don't talk to my friends like that. Be kind to others, and they'll be kind to you. That's my motto.
I'm deeply upset, but what's new?
Tom
cries.
starts to cry. Typical. Yeah, there we go. He's used to it, isn't he? He knows what crying sounds like because he does it all this time secretly in his room. We all know.
Stay on the
Just
script.
need to get that on record. Crying. Classic Tom. See, even Howard knows. That's right. The 25th Prime Minister of Australia knows who you are. John Howard then transformed into a gun, but the gun is made out of flesh and the trigger is his tongue. He then opens up a time portal because, as we concluded in previous pod, time travel definitely exists, and forces Tom to pull the trigger, which, as it's John Howard's tongue, is disgusting, but not as disgusting as Tom's soon-to-be actions. The bullet goes back into the time portal and shoots Martin Luther King Jr. dead. Tom is responsible for Martin Luther King Jr. This is what happened. This is the event. It's my birthday. There is no other way to put it. Everyone in the room thinks Tom is a monster of unspeakable evil. But Robbie, who didn't have a speaking role, joined the circus as a sword swallower because he was in the room to remind him never to speak of those awful events ever again that he saw that day. However, it didn't work out. He ended up telling everyone he knew, even check out attendance at Coles.
Yeah, well, there we go. How did you think you went, Robbie?
Robbie, how do you think it was it tough playing the son of the greatest prime minister we ever had, which I never thought before that, but because we're blood relatives now, no, he was good.
Yeah,
It was a layered role, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity, as I say every week.
Yeah, once again.
Do you reckon there's every ever role that you would not be appreciative of doing? Is there some television show that you really don't want to do? Because, Tom, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I promise that we won't pull up that script next episode.
It's just something you really want to do, Robbie, and we'll pull it up.
I don't know if it's really acting.
Don't help him out.
Ready, steady, cook. I don't know if I'd want
I'm
to do
happy with that.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, I think it's
maybe
really
you
good
could
if
find
you
a
played the
transcript for that. I
talking
don't know how you could. There'd be no transcript of Ready, Steady, Cook.
Probably, maybe.
And there's no such thing as small...
Worth a look.
Small actors or... No, so there is such a thing as small actors. That's how the saying goes. There's no such thing as small parts.
Yeah.
Maybe Robbie should be the audience that anytime anybody ever says, okay, so I'm going to bring out a carrot now, and the audience that's made up of immature 15-year-olds goes, every single episode.
All right, Robbie, you've got your wish. Next week.
Official. Well, thanks so much for this incredible birthday. I hope that we can still be friends, even though we've
really
uncovered
shattered
this.
some
We've got out some
deep-seated
deep
feelings.
truths. Yeah, no, it's true though. We've got to get that out there. That will be happening in the future. So stay tuned for the telemovie version of that, which will definitely happen when John Howard walks into the room, and we'll report on that as it happens.
And I can't
but
wait
for now.
for-
Just know that it's going to happen.
its
This
way,
is a 14-1 bet at the TAB, really, isn't it? We know it's going to happen.
I can't wait for Robbie's birthday as well, because when he gets to choose every segment for the week, that'll be interesting.
Very exciting. Do you want to pull your birthday to next week,
You get
Robbie?
to pull it whenever you want. So you
can
get
do it
one
now,
that's like
yeah.
a wild card, and you just get to be like, this week I get to choose every segment, and it's designed exactly as you wish, which Jordan has just used this week.
Should I? Do you want to do it?
No, I don't care. I'll do it later. I'm going to save mine.
You want to save it? I'll probably save
Your birthday already happened, so you're going to have to pull yours over to 2016.
That's
and I
fine.
suppose we could continue doing that. So,
One a
with
year.
that logic in mind, Bags next week being mine for 2016 as well. I'll be taking that birthday.
All right. Rules are rules. We'll...
No, not really. That's ridiculous. You can't expect that. That's not fair at all.
It's your birthday this week.
You got it?
Well, thanks, guys. See you next week. Like the Facebook page and stuff.
Yeah.
no
But, you know,
finishing
nah, that's all you get.
Yeah, sure.